There is a system of power that has been constructed where these companies and the people running these companies get to make decisions that affect billions of people's lives around the world, and those billions of people do not get any say in how it goes.
A system of power has quietly been built, one where a handful of companies and the people behind them make decisions that shape the lives of billions. While those billions have no voice in the process, an industry designed not for humanity but despite it. In a striking and deeply unsettling interview, leading AI researcher Karen Hao raises a warning.
The industry is designed in a way that is extremely inhumane.
Guys, Karen Hao, one of the top AI researchers, dropped a pretty eye-opening interview on AI and its dangers.
She suggests that perhaps we've been too quick to trust the promises of tech companies that the AI they build will remain aligned with human values. According to her, something far more dangerous may already be unfolding. These systems are being developed with the ability to rewrite their own code, a step toward artificial general intelligence. If that line is crossed without control, the consequences could be catastrophic and existential threat to humanity itself.
Big tech is constantly training AI to replace humans from their jobs, and I believe the biggest threat we're going to face in the next couple of years is mass unemployment.
At the heart of it all lies a deeper concern: control. Governments appear to be losing their grip, while tech giants accelerate forward. Their goal-building machines capable of replacing human labor at scale. And if that happens, what comes next? A world where billions are left without work. A society where people have nothing to lose and nothing to gain. History has shown what follows such imbalance: unrest, conflict, even collapse. This is not just about technology. It's about the future of civilization. Why are these companies moving so fast, so relentlessly, toward this uncertain future? After speaking with hundreds of insiders from the companies leading this race, Karen offers a powerful explanation. She calls it an imperial agenda.
Lay claim to resources that are not their own in the pursuit of training these models. That's the intellectual property of artists, writers, and creators. They're land grabbing in order to build these supercomputer facilities for training the next generation models. Second, they exploit an extraordinary amount of labor.
In the traditional sense, but in a modern, digital form, empires once expanded by claiming land and resources. Today, these new empires claim something else: data. The personal information of individuals, the creative work of artists, writers, and thinkers, all of it absorbed and used to fuel the growth of increasingly powerful AI systems. The scale is unprecedented, the ambition limitless, and the question remains: who, if anyone, is truly in control?
They contract hundreds of thousands of workers all around the world, including in the US, to ultimately make these technologies. We can talk about that more. And they also design their tools to be labor automating so that when the technologies are deployed, it also affects labor rights.
The picture grows darker. These emerging empires of AI, as they are described, are not just building technology, they are expanding their reach in ways that echo the patterns of empires throughout history. First, land. Vast areas are being acquired and repurposed to construct enormous supercomputer facilities, massive infrastructures designed to train the next generation of AI models. The scale is immense, the ambition even greater. Second, labor. Behind the sleek interfaces and intelligent systems lies an invisible workforce, hundreds of thousands of workers across the globe, including in the United States. These individuals label data, moderate content, and perform the hidden tasks that make AI possible. Yet at the same time, the very tools they help build are designed to automate labor, gradually replacing human roles and eroding labor rights. And this, it is argued, is not accidental, it is a deliberate, political choice.
And so they control and quash the research that is inconvenient to the empire's agenda.
Did you have an example where this is happening to journalists as well, that are asking questions of their team members?
Third, control over knowledge. A powerful narrative is projected that only these companies truly understand how AI works. If the public raises concerns, it is dismissed as ignorance. If policymakers hesitate, they are told they simply don't grasp the technology. But the influence runs even deeper. A large portion of AI research today is funded directly or indirectly by the same companies, driving its development. And when funding shapes research, it shapes the questions being asked and the answers that are allowed to emerge. It raises an unsettling question: what happens when those studying the risks are funded by those creating them? The comparison is striking. If most climate scientists were funded by fossil fuel companies, would the world truly understand the climate crisis? The same concern now echoes in AI. Research directions are guided subtly, but powerfully by where the money flows. Certain topics are prioritized, others are quietly ignored. And when findings challenge the interests of these powerful organizations, they may not be welcomed. There have been moments that reveal this tension. One such case involved Dr. Timnit Gebru, a leading figure in ethical AI research, hired to critically examine AI systems. She co-authored a paper highlighting the potential harms of large language models. But as the findings raised concerns, resistance followed. Efforts were made to halt the publication, and ultimately, she was dismissed. Soon after, her co-lead, Margaret Mitchell, was also let go. For some, this became a symbol of a deeper issue: the silencing of inconvenient truths. And the influence, it seems, does not stop at researchers. There are reports suggesting that even critics and watchdog organizations have faced pressure. In one instance, a small nonprofit found itself under scrutiny, facing legal demands for private communications, as if an attempt was being made to map out its critics. To some, it appeared as intimidation. To others, a strategic move to maintain control during a critical moment. All of this points to a growing concern that the power shaping the future of AI is becoming increasingly concentrated. And as that power expands, so does the question that lingers over it all: who is holding these empires accountable? The story continues, and the tension only deepens. At the center of it all were individuals pushing for something simple: transparency. They wanted open discussion, public awareness, and accountability for decisions that could reshape the future of humanity. But what followed raised even more questions. There was a knock on the door. Legal papers were delivered demanding access to private communications, emails, messages, any connection that might link critics to powerful figures like Elon Musk. Yet, according to those involved, no such connection existed. The response was simple: there were no documents to provide, because there was nothing there. And still, the pressure remained. It marked a moment that, to some, felt like a turning point where questioning power began to carry consequences. Then, the conversation shifts, not just to actions, but to mindset. What do the people building these systems actually believe? There is a growing idea that artificial intelligence could one day disrupt the very foundation of capitalism itself. A system built on human labor, facing a future where machines perform most of the work. If money stops circulating, what happens next? New systems may emerge, but the real question is who controls them. If the same small group shapes tomorrow's economy, the future may not be equal. It may be concentrated, controlled, almost dystopian. And yet, the leaders of these companies often speak in extremes. On one side, the worst-case scenario, a future where everything goes dark, catastrophic outcomes, even existential risk to humanity. On the other, a vision of extraordinary hope. Curing diseases like cancer, solving climate change, creating a world of abundance. Two radically different futures held together in a single narrative. And this, according to critics, is not accidental. By presenting both extremes, a powerful argument is created that the stakes are too high for everyone to be involved. That control must remain in the hands of a few, those who understand the technology best. Control becomes the solution to fear, public statements, social media posts. And behind-the-scenes tensions reveal a different layer, one involving reputation, influence, and accounts of truth. Books are written, stories are told, some are supported, others are dismissed. Journalists and researchers, some welcomed, others pushed aside. One account describes early cooperation, invitations to observe, to understand, to document. But when the work did not align, the relationship changed. Access was cut off, questions went unanswered. A clear message. As described, participation is conditional. As the narrative unfolds, one realization becomes harder to ignore. This is no longer just a story about technology. It is a story about power, who holds it, who challenges it, and who gets to define the future. The narrative continues, and now the cracks begin to show from within. At one point, the distance between journalist and company had become unmistakably clear. It wasn't speculation, it was explicit. A colleague at Mid-Technology Review had been approached with a story opportunity, a simple request for coverage. But when he suggested passing it along, the response was immediate. "No, we have a history, a quiet admission, of tension behind the scenes." And then, a deeper question emerges. Why are so many top minds leaving? Across the AI industry, particularly within leading organizations, high-profile researchers and engineers have walked away. Often without clear public explanations, no detailed statements, no obvious reasons, just silence, which leads to speculation. What are they seeing inside these companies? What kind of technologies or decisions would push some of the brightest minds in AI to step away? Some believe it points to something bigger, a realization of where this technology is heading. A future where artificial general intelligence is no longer theoretical but imminent. And if that future carries risks too great to ignore, then leaving may not be resignation. It may be a choice. Then comes one of the most striking moments in the story: an internal conflict at the highest level. The CEO, removed by their own board. In any organization, such a decision is rare. It requires deep concern, something serious enough for those closest to the leadership to say, "This is not the person who should be in control." And in this case, the stakes were not ordinary. The discussion wasn't about business strategy or performance. It was about control over AGI. Reports suggest that key figures within the organization questioned whether the CEO should be the one guiding such a powerful technology. Concerns were raised, not just privately, but at the highest level of governance. And yet, despite those concerns, the story did not end there. Leadership shifted. Some individuals left. Others never returned. And the questions remained. Why would those closest to the center of power choose to walk away? To understand this, one must go back to the beginning, at dinner. A luxury hotel in Silicon Valley. A gathering of some of the brightest minds in technology brought together with a shared vision to build something transformative. Many who sat at that table would go on to shape the future of AI. But years later, many of them would also leave. Not quietly but decisively. And what followed is perhaps even more revealing. They didn't step away from AI. They built their own, new companies, new visions, new missions, each one reflecting a different belief about what AI should be and how it should be controlled. From one organization, many were born. A pattern begins to emerge. These are not just technical disagreements. They are clashes of vision, of philosophy, of control. Because at this level, AI is no longer just a tool. It becomes something else entirely, something its creators want to shape in their own image. And when those visions collide, collaboration turns into competition. Alliances fracture. Partnerships dissolve. And former collaborators become rivals. Across the industry, a new landscape takes shape, one where powerful individuals race to build their version of intelligence. Not together, but against each other. Because in the end, the ultimate goal is not just to create AI, it is to control what it becomes. The narrative deepens, and now it enters more philosophical and unsettling territory. The question is simple on the surface, but heavy in implication. Do the leaders of AI companies actually understand what they are creating? Or more provocatively, do they care? There's a phrase that has echoed through the tech world for years, an almost mythic warning that building advanced AI is like summoning a demon. It sounds dramatic, extreme even, but it sticks. Because beneath the metaphor lies a real fear, one that many people quietly share. A future where machines surpass human intelligence, where jobs disappear, where economies destabilize, where Control slips away. And yet, despite these fears being widely known, progress continues, rapidly, relentlessly. Which raises an uncomfortable contradiction. If so many believe the risks are real, why does it feel like no one is stopping it? Why does it seem like the world is simply accepting it? The conversation turns to those at the center of it all: the CEOs, the founders, the decision makers. Are they aware of the potential consequences? Some estimates suggest there is a non-trivial chance that things could go catastrophically wrong on a global scale. And when framed in human terms, the risk feels staggering. Would anyone knowingly take a gamble where the downside is irreversible, where the consequences affect all of humanity? It doesn't seem rational, unless something else is at play. And this is where the narrative shifts again, because according to some perspectives, the language of risk is not just a warning. It is also a strategy, a form of storytelling, a way to shape perception. On one side, the message is clear: if we don't build this, someone else will. A race, a sense of urgency, a justification for moving forward fast. On the other side, this technology is too powerful, too dangerous, to be in the wrong hands. Which leads to an implied conclusion that it must remain in the hands of a select few. And so, a powerful narrative forms, one that both accelerates development and concentrates control. Fear becomes a tool, persuading, mobilizing, gathering support, funding, and influence. But narratives, once created, have a way of evolving, because the people telling them begin to live inside them. And here, an analogy emerges, a story from science fiction, a universe where powerful factions compete for control. In that world, myths are planted deliberately, beliefs are engineered, stories are used to guide populations. And when a leader arrives, he steps into that myth. At first, he knows it is constructed, a tool, a role to play. But over time, as he embodies it, as he repeats it, as others believe it, the line begins to blur. Is it still a story? Or has it become reality? And this is the unsettling parallel. Within the AI world, narratives are carefully crafted. Grand missions, dazzling demonstrations, promises of saving humanity, all designed to inspire trust and reduce resistance. And yet, the longer these narratives are told, the more they are repeated, reinforced, and lived, the harder it becomes to separate belief from strategy. Do they know they are shaping a story, or have they begun to believe it themselves? Perhaps both are true. Because in the end, this is not just about technology. It is about influence, about who gets to define the future, not just through code, but through the stories we choose to believe. And once those stories take hold, they become far more powerful than the technology itself.